It always throws me off a little bit when I decide to film a video after work because I feel like I've been two very different people today. Before this, I was in my scrubs. My hair was a mess and I just looked nothing like the Kayla that you're seeing right now. But I feel like that's the whole point and why I decided to get a little dolled up for this video, because I'm just in like a look good, feel good vibe. Like I'm trying to convince myself that if I look good, I will in fact feel better about my budgeting and my money for the month, because me and money have just had a really tough relationship recently. For the past couple months, I feel like I've just been struggling to get a handle on my finances. And last month was the first time in like 3 months that I was consistent with my budgeting. It's just so easy to not want to look at our budget when we know it's not going to show us what we want to see. But of course, those are the times when it's even more important to be vigilant about our budgeting and our tracking our expenses, because whatever the reason that we don't want to look, whether it's like an unexpected expense or you're making less money than you expected this month, like whatever the reason you don't want to look, that thing is still going to happen whether you track it or not. And now that thing has happened and we don't even have hard numbers for how that has affected our budget, and we're trying to be a mathematician in our head. And I know that for me, that doesn't work for the full month. So in my mind, I'm just like, I must be over budget, whatever. And it's like all or nothing, and then I just do all this extra spending, and it's just never good to not track our expenses. So in the spirit of maintaining a budget even when it's hard, today I'm gonna sit down and I am going to budget for what I consider a low income month. And I say low income with a very subjective outlook on what my income is. I would definitely say I'm somewhere in the middle class where most of America is sitting. But for me, the current money that I'm bringing in is lower than what I'm used to. And inevitably, I, like so many others of us, I think, have fallen victim to a little bit of lifestyle creep. Like I wasn't always making this much money, but because I'm used to making more, I have been spending more, and now I'm making less, and it's like, shoot, we need to adjust how we're budgeting a little bit. So it's good and bad, because obviously I want to make more money, but also it's good to try to curve a little bit of this lifestyle creep, and ain't nothing like a forced curve to help me be better at budgeting my money. I'm also going to budget my paycheck during this video, which I highly recommend doing if you are in the same boat as me and making less money than you're used to making, because a monthly reset and setting up your budget for the month is all fine and dandy. It's wonderful. I encourage it, but I do feel like having a breakdown week by week or paycheck by paycheck is helpful to make sure that proactively, as you head into the week, you've already got your money accounted for on like a smaller scale, so you don't accidentally spend the money that you're used to having and that you don't have. If you're new to my channel, then you've chosen an excellent video to come in on. I love setting up my budget for the month. As much as I feel like I've talked about money in a negative light so far in this video, I just feel like setting my budget up for the month helps me feel a little bit more of a sense of calm moving into a new month. I like to share these videos once a month where I will review my budget for the previous month. I'll set my budget up for the upcoming month, and I usually in the middle of that take some time to reflect on how I feel about my spending from the month that has already passed, so that's July. But I want to do things a little bit backwards today and start with a reflection. So just talk about how I'm feeling about money right now and how I've felt about money for the past month. And I'm purposely reframing this as talking about my feelings and emotions about money and not just reflecting on the month, because I feel like reflecting on the month feels very passive. And then when I talk about my emotions, it feels very active. These past couple months have really shown me how emotional finances are. Like finances and emotions are not two separate things. When we're spending money, making money, inevitably our feelings and emotions around it are attached to it. And I think that it's been something that's been easy to ignore in previous months because I've just had like a positive feeling about money. So I haven't had to think about, how do I feel about it? And I've noticed that when I feel good about my money, it's easy for me to not do any emotional spending. And even now that I don't feel good about my money, I wouldn't say I've done emotional spending, but I feel like I'm an emotional budgeter. So like when I'm feeling good about money, I'm so good about my budget. I look at it every week, maybe even a couple times a week, like sometimes on a daily basis. But when I don't feel good about it, I avoid it like the plague. And while I did consistently budget this month, I definitely didn't look at it weekly. Like it was really sporadic when I would look at it. That being said, if I had to choose a word to describe my emotions around money for the past month, it would just be anxious. Like I've just been feeling really anxious, and apparently there's a whole term for that called financial anxiety, which is exactly what it sounds like. Just this emotion of constantly worrying and stressing about the money that you're spending. That is describing me to a T in this time. I just feel like I've been hyper aware of the fact that I'm making less than I'm used to, and every single purchase like my body just tenses up thinking about spending money. This is like a visceral reaction right now. Like I'm tensing just thinking about it, and it's to an unhealthy degree. I feel like it's small things, it's big things, it's things in my control and out of my control. Just everything surrounding money has made me feel anxious. And I think that I need to just kind of remind myself of the point of a budget. I feel like I've been looking at what budgeting is and why we have a budget all wrong. I'm just such a type A person, and I'm so strict about rules that I set out for myself. And I think I've been viewing my budget as this like strict rule, something that absolutely cannot be broken. It needs to go exactly as I've set it up. That is not what a budget is. I do this with so many things in life too. My fiance is the exact opposite, by the way. He is so type B, and sometimes I'll tell him like, we need to leave the house by 12, and I'm looking at him at 12:02. He's about to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, go to the bathroom. I said we need to leave at 12. And he'll be like, that's like a loose time. It's fine. We can leave at 12:10, 12:15. And in my head, I'm like, what is a loose time? Like, what is the point in setting a time if it's loose? Then it's just not even a time anymore. I don't know. And so this is something that I need in all of my life, just being a little bit more chill about things and not so strict. But I view my budget in such a strict mindset. And like I was saying, I don't think it's meant to be this rule book that's set out for us. I think that a budget is supposed to be there to help set just a guideline for how we would like the month to go, help give us goals to look at as we're spending, and as we want to make purchases that aren't necessary, like if I want to get clothes or go out with friends or something like that, then I have this guideline to look back at and see how much money do I have to play with. With that in mind, now I can grab my computer, break down my budget for July, and just show you everything that I spent, made, and saved for the month. Okay, here's my budget for July. I'm gonna start out by just showing you what I made for the month, because that'll be pretty similar to what I'm gonna make for August. And this is my definition of my low income month. So for my first paycheck, oh, also I haven't said this yet in this video, but I do work as a travel physical therapist. I get paid weekly, and then the reason that I'm making a little bit less for this contract is because all of my money is taxed. Usually the draw towards travel professions like travel physical therapy, travel nursing, is that we get a lot of money untaxed, but just for this contract, and never again, never ever again, because it is taking so much money to be taxed. But just for this contract, I need all my money taxed to establish what is called my tax home, which is really boring travel PT specific stuff, but that explains my income. These are the 4 paychecks that I actually made, and then on the left side it has what I budgeted, what I thought that I would make. So if I work 32 hours, I should make this number right here. The first paycheck, I only worked 24 hours. What happened was when I first started this contract, the amount of work that I'm doing, I thought that that was 40 hours worth of work. And then the people I'm working for came back and were like, no, this is 32 hours, but this is after I had already worked for a week. So I re-signed my contract and I was like, fine, if this amount of work is 32 hours, I'll take it. I'm not gonna work more than that. But my contract initially had guaranteed 40 hours a week. So no matter how much work I did, it was supposed to be considered 40 hours. Once I signed that new contract, they went back in retroactively and were like, so that other week that you worked, because it wasn't guaranteed, that's actually only considered 32 hours of work. And so they adjusted for it on this paycheck, and it came out to only 24 hours of work, which is crazy. And then I had a normal paycheck. And then for this third one, I reached out to my recruiter and I was like, that's so crazy. They cannot retroactively change my pay. Like the contract originally said that it was guaranteed 40 hours. So I need to be guaranteed that money. And he was like, yeah, you're right. And then he reimbursed me. So that's why this one is extra. Then this paycheck, oh, I was off on Wednesday because I had a doctor's appointment. So it was 25 hours. So that's my income for the month. All right, expenses. I can like feel myself getting anxious just thinking about going over my expenses, which is so unlike me, because usually I talk about my expenses. I say I'm so excited to do it. I feel like it's a little walk through my month in numbers, but I low-key don't want to take that walk right now. But we're doing it anyway. What I spent this month. Groceries. This is so funny that I spent $5.49 on groceries. I budgeted only $500 for groceries, but the truth is that usually I'll budget $550. I knew I was going to be making less this month, and so I was like, maybe I can try to like shave $50 off of groceries, but it just doesn't work like that. I consider the food that I eat for the most part a necessity. And then if I do spend a little extra on groceries because I'm trying a new snack or like trying a new healthy shake or something, it's not a negative. I don't really restrict myself with groceries. So it didn't make sense for me to try to budget a more restricting number. And it didn't work out that way anyway. Like just because I wrote down the number 500, it was still $550. Eating out was right on track. Gas was $2.20. I drive a lot for my job. I'm technically in budget for my health and beauty spend, but I don't love that number because when I budgeted that, I thought I was gonna get my hair done this month and I didn't. But I decided that this was the month I was going to just like grab my curly hair by the reins and really get on top of it and find the products that I love. And I was like, I'm gonna spend some extra money. I'm gonna find something that is just perfect for me. A little note about my hair. It is so hard to shop for products because my hair is low porosity. It like repels water and it's just never moisturized in the way that I want. Initially, I was going to try to get InnerSense products and get the whole product line, but you can only buy that from their actual website. And this thing just took over me where I wanted to get the products that day. So I went into Ulta blind, flying absolutely blind, had no idea what I wanted to get. I saw We Dad and I felt like it looked like a good brand and it's like salon quality. So I got their entire line, shampoo, conditioner, deep conditioner, moisturizer, and it was horrible for my hair. It was absolutely horrible. Afterwards, my hair just had this like really slick feeling and I'm still trying to get rid of it. So the gag is that I spent almost $150 on health and beauty and I feel like I need to do it all over again next month because the products I got are not what I need. Anyways, no money spent on social or gifts. Doodads, which is just what I call my fun money. I did a really good job with that. I usually allow myself $250 in fun money. And when I set my budget up this month, I was like, Kayla, you don't have $250 in fun money. So you need to spend $100. And yeah, I did a good job with that. Unfortunately, there was an unexpected event and it is called birthday weekend, which is basically a bunch of extra fun money that was spent. So if I'm being honest about my doodad spend, it's more like 96 plus 324, so like 4 something, but it's for a really good reason. Hear me out and tell me if you think that the money spent on this is valid or not. So it is my friend's birthday weekend, actually this coming weekend. It needs to be the birthday weekend of the century because my friend deserves the world, as I'm sure you feel about all of your friends. And she just went through this horrible breakup. She was with a trash man, a dumpster of a man. We've all met them. Imagine this. You pay for a man, a full man's birthday weekend because you have love for him and you're trying to be a good girlfriend. You pay for his Airbnb, you plan out all the activities, you are just being girlfriend of the year, all to find out a couple weeks later that your man has been cheating. What do? We throw said man away where he belongs, in the dumpster. Goodbye, said man. However, we have to remember that we have already paid for his entire birthday weekend. And now our birthday is coming up, and who is gonna pay for our birthday weekend? He got us. What we're not gonna do is we're not gonna sit and sulk about it. I mean, we're gonna acknowledge our emotions about it, understandably, but we are not gonna have a trash birthday weekend because of this man. All the outfits are gonna be fire. All the photos are gonna be Pinterest worthy. So I did in fact buy all new clothes. And so I would say like 70% of this birthday weekend spend is on me buying clothes. And then the other percentage is for the hotel that we are getting. But do you think that's a valid reason? Because I think it's a valid reason. The only other expenses that I had for the month was $50 for travel PT, which is just paying for parking when I'm going to go see patients, which I have to do because I'm in DC. And then $150 on miscellaneous spending. I got my car inspected this month, got an oil change, and then somebody left their screw in the middle of the highway. So I got my tire plugged. And that's all my spending for the month. Moving on to subs and bills, there's not much new this month. I didn't pay for my CapCut subscription yet because it came in on the 29th, which, oops, note about that. One of the best things I did for myself when it comes to tracking my expenses, because I am religious about credit card use and I love getting the extra money back. I use so many credit cards. It makes it really hard to get like a master copy budget sheet that accounts for all of those individual credit card accounts. So one of the best things I ever did for myself was start to use my bank account as the reference for my budget. I've explained this before in detail in other videos, and if you want like the nitty-gritty about this, you should check out my last payday routine video. But the short version of this is that I don't account for an item on my budget until I have paid for it and it shows up in my bank account, not just on the credit card that I spent it on. So this CapCut fee came through on the 29th. I haven't paid for it yet, and so I haven't accounted for it yet, and I'll just do that in August. Okay, now for savings. I'm not entirely happy with how much I saved this month, but when I look at the number, so $15.20 is what I saved for the month, and I scroll up to these little pie charts that I have, I feel like I did my best. Like when it comes to all of my expenses that are shown in this pie chart, most of it is just my subscriptions and bills, and then the rest is my savings. And then when I look at my cash flow breakdown, once again, savings and subs and bills are much more of the pie chart than expenses are. So I feel like I gotta give myself some grace, and I did the best that I could. But I put $1,000 in my long-term investing account this month, $200 in my Roth IRA, $200 back into my gift sinking fund, which is sitting at 0. By November, I want that gift sinking fund back up to like at least $500. I would like for $1,000 because I just hate the rush that comes with Christmas and trying to scramble all of this money. So I'm trying to rebulk my gift sinking fund. 200 is a nice start. And then I also just put 100 in my emergency fund. I'm slowly building that one back up. It's not like depleted fully or anything like that, but I think I took about 600 of it out last month because I was just scraping for money, and I just want to put it back where it was. And then I put 20 in me and Devin's joint account. I just wanted to put something there, and the month was coming to a close, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw $20 in there because I hadn't done anything in it for the month. And usually my joint account is my number one thing that I want to make sure that I save for. I've kind of shifted my priority though a little bit this year and made investing like my number one because I just want to be better about investing. I feel like that is the key to really growing long-term financial wealth, and it's such a hard thing to do because none of the money that you invest is guaranteed, but trying to scrape together the 4 and 5% from my high yield savings account and like putting all my money in that is going to do me no good. So as hard as it was, I had to prioritize something this month, and I went ahead and I prioritized my investing, and my joint account fell to the wayside. But that is June in total. No, not June. That's July. Oh, it's late. Since I already did my little reflection emotions on the month of July, I just wanted to run through some goals that I have moving into August, and I put them down in my computer. August is my last full month of work before I take a little bit of a break. This happens every 3 or 4 months because I'll do a contract, the contract ends, I take a rest, and then I start another contract. I don't want this break to be too long because I feel like I didn't make that much for these past 3 months anyway, but I do need like at least 2 weeks of a rest. So that's just something that I have in my mind moving into the month, and I just know that I want to save as much as I possibly can. Knowing that I'm about to start that break, I need to intentionally set aside some money for the time off that I'm going to have. I have a time off sinking fund that literally I just put money in for the times that I'm not working so that I have something to spend. Right now it's empty, and so I just want to go ahead and set some money aside for that before I don't have an income anymore. So I'm gonna put $250 into my time off sinking fund. I have a goal to invest $1,500 for all the months that I'm working in order to hit my yearly goal of investing $13K for the year. And I wasn't able to hit that last month, but I would love to hit that this month. I wanna make sure that I'm budgeting at least weekly. Last month, we got back on track and started budgeting in general. And this month, I just want to be consistent with it so that I can be using the information that my budget is giving me actively in real time versus just like passively tracking the numbers. And then finally, I want to finish my house hacking book. I have this book on house hacking that I just can't seem to sit down and read. I really have such a hard time quieting my mind and only taking in the information in the book. I'm very much a product of my generation, and I'm just always wanting to look at TV, scroll on my phone, work on something, like do 5 things at once. And I have such a hard time sitting down and reading a book. But this book is important. Devin and I want to buy a house soon, and the number one reason we're even buying a house is because we want to house hack. So just meaning that we want to rent out rooms or spaces in our home while we're living there so that it can be something that's making us money right away. And my job is supposed to be reading this book so that we can do a better job of house hacking, and I've just done a horrible job of it. So my goal for the month of August is to just finish that book, finish the book. just finish the gosh darn book. So those are the goals moving into August. And now I'm just going to set the budget up for the month and then go ahead and get budgeting my first paycheck out of the way, because I already know what I'm gonna be making for my first paycheck. It hits tomorrow, and I just wanna decide what to spend it on so I don't do anything irrational. So I did already set the numbers up for my budget for the month. I put in what I think I'm gonna make each week. Like I said, for the first paycheck, I already know exactly what I'm gonna make. It's $14.33, a little bit extra because I worked more than 32 hours that paycheck. The next one will be a little bit light because I was off one day last week. I just wasn't feeling good, and that's when that paycheck gets paid out. And then otherwise, they should just be normal paychecks. So I'm budgeting $12.40. Okay, scrolling over to income. For groceries, I'm just gonna budget the regular old $5.50. That's what I spent last month. That's what I budget every other month. I'm just gonna be realistic with myself. Eating out, I'm gonna say $50. Gas, I'm budgeting $2.20 because that's what I spent last month. Health and beauty, I'm doing $130, which is such an odd number, but I don't expect myself to spend as much on hair care products as I did last month, but I do want to buy something, and then I might actually get my hair done this month and like get it straight, get a trim, all that stuff. So I put $130 because I figure it'll be a little less than last month, but not much less than last month. For social, I usually budget $50 just to do something with friends, because I feel like our social health is so important for our overall health in general. Just getting out, doing things with people that you love is important. And so I have no issue spending money on something like that. But that being said, I am already doing the big birthday weekend with my friend. There's even more money to be spent on that, but we'll get into that in just a minute. So I don't want to spend too much more money on social this month, but I'll still allocate the normal $50. For doodads, I budgeted $150, almost $500 for the birthday weekend. Hear me out. I spent another $80 on clothes because the first batch wasn't exactly what I wanted. I hate to say it out loud, but like we need to have fire outfits, okay? The outfits need to hit. Part of that $500 is $80 on clothes. And then the rest of it is just what I think I could spend this weekend. I have to pay for parking every day for my car. It's $35 for parking every day. We're gonna have to get Ubers all weekend. We're going to 2 fancy dinners. We're going out. There are cover fees, buying drinks. I just think it's gonna be an expensive weekend. I really hope it's not gonna be that expensive, but if it is, then I'm ready for it. And then other expenses I budgeted for are just $50 for travel PT, because that's what it cost last month to pay for parking. And then my $150 for miscellaneous, which is just always $150. You can always trust that I will budget $150 for things that I don't know might happen this month. Subs and bills are staying about the same as last month, except for I did get rid of my CrossFit subscription fee, whatever that is. It was like $230 a month. And I just think that for this month, as much as I love doing CrossFit and I love the community of working out, and I feel like I do get a great workout, for this month, my gym membership is free because my parents pay for it, and it's just like, Kayla, for this month, we can hit the gym. I'd rather save that $230 or like $250, whatever's going to CrossFit, and be able to save that for my time off sinking fund or something else, or invest it or something, than put it into CrossFit. I'm just not at that space this month where I have that luxury. For savings, I am gonna put $200 in my joint account because I am prioritizing investing, but I do wanna put something towards my joint account. Put $1,300 into my long-term investment account, $200 into my Roth IRA. I'm gonna stick another $100 into my gift sinking fund and emergency fund, and then $200 in my time off sinking fund. I know I said that my goal was $250, but all these other things that I'm saving money for are valid too. I am really hoping that the birthday weekend does not cost that much. And if it doesn't cost that much, then I can go ahead and put an extra $50 into my time off sinking fund. So that's the month of August budgeted for. As promised, I'm gonna roll right into how I budget my paycheck. So my first paycheck is going to be $14.33. That money plus whatever money came over in my rollover, $825, is technically what I have to work for to budget for the month. But then I do like to keep like a $400 or $500 buffer in my account. So I technically have that minus maybe $400 to budget. What is that number? Where's my phone? So my paycheck, 1433.83 plus 825.6 equals that minus $400. So I got $1,859.43 to budget for the month. And that's what we're gonna work with. The process I go through when budgeting my paycheck is probably a little different than other people's because I don't set aside my savings first. I feel like that's controversial because there is this thought process that like you wanna save this money, so budget for your savings first. But I also try to be realistic, and I'm like, if I know I have to spend money, like I've gotta buy groceries, I've gotta pay for gas, gas. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna save $500 when I need some of it to pay for those essentials. So before I budget for my savings, I budget for the essentials that I expect to spend for the week. And then even before that, if there's any money that I spent in July but hadn't hit my bank account yet, that's gonna come out in August, I put that in there. And so for this month, that is, I'm just gonna scroll down, parking fee that I have, and then I also got Chick-fil-A, and that hasn't hit yet either. So these right here are the expenses that haven't come out yet, and that's only like $17. And I do color code the expenses based on what credit card they're gonna come out of, just to keep them like organized on my screen and in my brain. And then usually I put things in gray that I think will happen or that are gonna happen soon but haven't actually hit yet. So like things that are pending are in gray. Moving on to the essentials portion of budgeting my paycheck. Rent is an essential and I pay that weekly. For the month, it is $750, and so that comes out to about $187 per week. And then I wanna budget for groceries. I'm thinking that I could spend like $200 this week because Devin and I just need to do a full refresh on our groceries. Like we don't have any chicken. We're gonna need to get milk, butter. We might even need some more laundry detergent, which I count like my toiletries and stuff all in my groceries. So I think it's gonna be a big grocery spending week. Gas, I said I was budgeting $220 for the month. So I'm just gonna divide that by 4. 220 divided by 4. That's $55 a week. So one fill up. I might go ahead and get my hair products this week and just get it out of the way for the month. So that could be like $50. Oh, and then the other thing that I skipped over is that the birthday weekend, which is almost $500. So I'm accounting for that. And then I've got some Apple Cash coming in, which is a positive thing. Okay, but those are all of the essentials. I guess step 1 was just figuring out how much money we have to budget. Step 2 was taking out money that I have already spent on my credit cards. 3 was doing my essentials. And then after that, why am I stuck? Oh, after that is when I finally decide what money I can save for the month. So what I'm gonna do for that is that it looks like in total I budgeted to save $2,100 this month, save and invest, whichever. So I'm just gonna divide that by 4 so I can decide how much I should do each week, and that comes out to about $525. I think I'll just go ahead and invest a quarter of what I wanna invest for my long-term account. And $1,300 divided by 4 is $325. And then I'll do half of the Roth IRA, -100. Then I'll just go to like my next biggest priority, which is my joint account. So I will just invest half of that and just get that out of the way. And that adds up exactly to $525. So that is just gorgeous. For this paycheck, that leaves me with $738.36. This is like my running total of what would be left in my bank account after this paycheck if I spent all of that, which I'm good with. Okay, officially done. Wow. This is probably gonna be a long video. I feel like it was extra chatty, and then I also budgeted my paycheck at the end. But I'm ending the video with such a more positive feeling about money and my finances and budgeting than I did coming into it. Like I said, coming into it, I was just feeling so anxious. I really feel like going through my budget in this kind of a format is like 50% of what even keeps me honest with my budget at all, because I know that I need to sit down, I need to talk about it with you guys, and I know that even if I'm feeling a little stressed about it, I'm going to feel better at the end of it. So thank you so much for sitting down with me and going through my budget. It honestly makes a world of a difference for me, and I hope that it's helpful for you to some degree, because I just love our little budget book club. I hope that you have an amazing month. I hope that you hit all of your money goals. If you have any money goals you want to share, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I love hearing what other people are planning with their money for the month. And yeah, I will see you very, very soon in another video. Bye.